Good evening. Welcome to the Marcellus Central School District Board of Education meeting for this evening, Monday, March 27th, 2023. At this time, would you please stand and join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, liberty and justice for all. While it's not on this evening's agenda, I would like to take a moment of silence in honor of the victims and their families in the school community of Covenant School in Nashville, Tennessee, for the horrific actions that occurred there today. Thank you. First item on this evening's agenda, recognition.
So I unfortunately had to miss a very special event last week, and Jean and I were talking about it, and I said, Jean, why don't you do recognitions this week because you were able to attend. So Jean, take it away.
Certainly. So congratulations to Brian Apples, Katie Bernius, and Kristen Keenstra. The district choral festival last Wednesday was just incredible. We had our grade 5 and 6 choir, 7-8 choir, and our high school concert choir, and then our high school select choir that all performed. And at the very end, they all got up on stage and did the Marcellus Alma Mater, as well as the We Shall Overcome song. And literally it was breathtaking. I think probably everyone in the audience had goosebumps because it was amazing to see our grade 5 kids all the way to our grade 12 kids up on stage performing together. So kudos. And just another thank you to Adam Greiner, who is sort of an unsung hero at all of our events. And he did the lighting and the acoustics, as he always does for everything. Just a shout out to him as well. And then I also just want to recognize I am the McKinney-Vento liaison for the district. And at times we have students in need of special transportation. And as we all know, transportation in many districts is getting trickier and trickier as we try to find bus drivers. So I want to just give a special shout out to Tony Sinaccio, John Durkee, and Lorraine Reynolds, who have all been pitching in and ready to help out students that are in need because of some pretty tricky circumstances on their end. So,
And you can add Jean Charlotte to that list too. They're a group of 4 angels who are helping out in a really tough time.
so yep, the transportation, thank you, Tony and all.
Thank you. Item 4, presentations, building project update.
Just a couple quick items. We're closing in on the kickoff of phase 1 of our upcoming project. It actually starts this Friday. Hard to believe it's going to be the end of March. At 3:45, we're turning over our locker rooms downstairs to our abatement contractor. You may have seen, if you visited the buildings, the abatement posting on the doors of DMS announcing an abatement project. And so they'll be setting up their enclosure and the decon area, putting dumpsters, and that will begin they'll be able to begin first thing Monday morning, the 3rd. This is an abatement project that will be taking place over spring break. We usually this is not the first time we've abated during a break. We always try to do that so that we can get a jump on actual construction. And then construction will ensue. They're pretty confident that clean airs will be returned by Thursday, if all goes well. Hopefully they'll be able to do their tear down on Friday. I always like it if they can get the decon out of there before people return, because it can look a little daunting. But hopefully they'll be able to pull all that down, and then they'll be in the general contractor, plumbing contractor, electrical contractor will all be in that space as they do demo and start to rebuild those locker rooms. It's a pretty significant renovation because they have not been touched, and there's a lot to bring them up to code, but they're going to be great when they're done. Roof work, because of the massive amount of roof work and the complexity of tackling 3 roofs in a summer, plus all of the work on the grounds. We have 2 roofing contractors coming, and roof work will start mid-May on the high school. There's going to be 2 areas captured. One is right over the LGI, and the other area is over both locker rooms. So if you think about a U, the gym in the center, both locker room stretches on either side of the gym, and then the hallway and offices that run along the front of the gym. So we'll be beginning in those areas. That will include removal of equipment from the roof that includes air conditioning. So those spaces will be out of air conditioning until the end of June, which it's not generally that warm at that time of year anyway. So I think we're in good shape there. And then mid-June, the DMS roof work will start. KCH will not begin until after graduation. And then the DMS area will be over the music hallway on the 2nd floor. That's where they're starting. So that will help them get a jump. So contractors are aware that we will have testing periods in the high school. We'll be managing any noisy work that they do so that it doesn't create problems for testing. Roofing isn't entirely noisy or entirely smelly, but there are times when it's noisy and times when it's smelly. So the staff is sort of aware that that's going to be happening. They know to communicate with me if there are issues, and John and I will be working with our construction management firm to make certain that we're not causing disruption during testing. So we feel like this will be very doable. It is obviously the first time we've done roofing when school's in session, either here or other places I've been. So I feel confident we'll be able to manage it without too much strife. Mike?
A quick question. I think you've answered this before, but I just want
Sure.
the DMS gym and auditorium windows. So I know we replaced the windows in the rest of the building. And in doing so, because of the certification of that building, they needed to meet certain historical,
Yes.
the gym and auditorium windows will meet those same historical standards.
Yes. Wow. And those will be replaced in the summer. My rule of thumb with windows is do not take a window out until you have a window to put in, because that can be super fun when they do that. We do have an exception that locker room windows will be removed because they're going to use those window openings to take out the debris from the tear down of those locker rooms, and they'll be secured in an alternate way, and then windows put back in once the project meets that point.
And once the gym and auditorium windows are replaced, every window in that older section of the building will have been replaced.
Correct. Yeah, the rest of the windows are not at the end of their useful life. They were probably in the newer part, like in the early 2000s. Is that correct, Tony? Was it 2005? And there might be a set that's a little bit before that.
Yeah, 2003, 2005.
Yes. So the other thing, just this is some detail. So we've talked about this at a higher level the last couple meetings, but as part of the roof replacement, there's a lot of areas that have to take new structural steel beams. And largely the reason is that there are code requirements that change over time. And when you touch that structure, you have to bring that structure up to code. So there are snow load codes for what type of infrastructure you need to have based on the snow load. And as a result, there have been areas identified that need additional supports in the form of structural steel. So if you can think about it this way, this particular ceiling is a paneled ceiling. And if you look up in between, you can see, roof deck, because this has got that sort of industrial feel to it. Well, if this ceiling was solid, think of it, they're taking down the ceiling and lights. In most places, they're going to literally put these pockets, they'll affix steel pockets to other beams in existence or other structures, and then drop a steel beam to sit in those pockets. So if you've watched HGTV, you've probably seen something like this. So that's how it's going to be in most places. The one area that a steel beam is going in for, because a wall's being taken out, is that storage room in the high school gymnasium. We talked about that storage room ages ago. When the design was created for the high school, this predates me, there wasn't a ton of thinking about storage. The thinking was about lots of other things. So we're trying to, over time, create better storage so that we don't have stuff sitting everywhere. I mean, you need places to put things. And so one of the steps is to actually remove a wall between two storage areas that butt up to one another. And in order to remove a wall, what did Chip and Joanna Gaines always say? You have to put in a beam. So a beam will go in that area. The only area that we're paying very close attention to is obviously over in the auditorium space. So those of you that have been on the board for a while probably get hives when we talk about doing work in our auditorium, because we have lots of vermiculite in that particular area, and we're never quite sure where that vermiculite is going to come pouring out of. So we had for those of you that don't know, vermiculite is the little pebbly white stuff that you see in potting soil. And it is considered a possibly hazardous material, possibly asbestos containing material, and it has to be treated as such. And there was a period of time in our history where that was used as an insulation. So they literally dumped it in between your walls, and that was these little pebbly white things were the insulation in between your walls. So just picture that, how small it is and how light it is. And literally a vibration can knock it out of a space. So we are having a structural steel beam put in an area right along what used to be an outside wall there. So we've been very clear about the protection they need for our carpet, so we don't have to rip our carpet out if some has to be abated. And they're also putting a canopy over the falling down decrepit canopy that sits outside the doors to the pit area of the auditorium. So next time you're over in that tennis court student parking lot, take a look at the canopy. I'm sure we looked at pictures at some point, but it's been a while. Take a look at that canopy that's just over those pit doors that sit on ground level. That's our handicapped accessible entrance really to that space. And that canopy is in disrepair. So that's another spot where you never know if there's going to be vermiculite coming out or not. And there's really no way to get rid of it because it's sort of everywhere. So we think we have precautions, and fingers crossed that we don't find any or too much. And our phase 2, we are less patiently waiting. We were talking a few minutes ago that Tony made a call today to State Ed trying to find out why our project, the final person in our project, has not signed off. They basically told him, you will have to wait. If we talked to everyone that called, we wouldn't have time to look at your projects. But we're literally waiting for a sign off so that we can put the site work portion of this project out on the street. We're still guardedly optimistic that things will proceed as planned. Obviously, the later it gets, the more challenging it is, but there are many site contractors aware that this project is coming. We had a similar situation with the turf field. We were really late bidding, but the turf contractors were already aware it was coming, and so they had sort of planned for it. So we're still hopeful. We were hoping to capture bidding in March.
If
Not
that
looking good.
approval and then subsequent construction is pushed off enough, is that the type of work that could still be done throughout the winter? Because it's site work, or no?
No.
So it'd have to be kicked till next spring. What, is there a, lack of a better term, is there a drop dead date that we,
Well, I would say this, I'm shooting from the hip here, which I don't always like doing, but if we think of it this way, July, August, September, mid-October, you need basically 3.5 months. And that's accounting for some weather issues. I mean, not complete washout, but some weather issues here and there. And so let's say we get someone to start it in August. You know, could it be August, September, October, and half of November? Possibly. The problem is you've got a big disaster outside your high school, and moving people becomes extremely challenging. And we would really have to weigh a lot out to take a chance like that. But basically, you need a 3.5 month window where it isn't snowy.
And by doing it on this time frame, 3 of those months or 2 of those months would be when school's not in session.
Yes. Obviously, that's what you're trying to do. And we have it phased out so that we're starting with the area that's now considered the staff lot. So that by the time buses have to run, we'll have a bus loop and we'll take over the student lot area. And because of the parking lot expansion, students will still be able to park on campus. We should have room for everyone because there is expanded parking happening in that staff lot area. And obviously, we're expanding parking because if you've been here when there's events going on, people are parked everywhere. And it's not a great situation. I mean, God forbid we ever had to get an ambulance up here at one of these really big events. It's difficult. It's happened. It's been like threading a needle a little bit. So fingers crossed that we'll bring this home in the next couple of few days. We'll get a sign up and be able to get this on the street. And that's it.
All right, thank you. Any questions regarding building project update? Item 5, resident comments. Public expression of Board of Education meetings is encouraged, and a specific portion of the agenda shall provide for this privilege. In most instances, the board shall reserve judgment regarding questions and concerns that are brought to the board's attention at a board meeting, as it is typically not prudent for the board to make instantaneous determinations. In addition, many issues that are brought to the board's attention do not require a formal determination by the board, but rather are most appropriately addressed by the superintendent of schools or persons designated by the superintendent without further board action. This is in accordance with board policy 3230. Are there any resident comments at this time? Anything electronically? Item 6, business. 6.1, adoption of the 2023-24 Marcellus School Budget. Whereas the Marcellus Central School District Board of Education has developed a budget for the operations of the district for the 2023-2024 school year. Whereas the annual budget hearing meeting is scheduled for May 8th, 2023. Resolved that the board hereby adopts the budget developed in the amount of $40,202,463. Be it further resolved that the following proposition be placed before the voters on May 16th, 2023. Shall the Board of Education of the Marcellus Central School District be authorized to expend the sum set forth in the total amount of $40,202,463 for the 2023-2024 school year, and to levy the necessary tax therefore. May I have a motion?
Motion, Sean.
Sean? Second.
Second.
Kelly? Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Item 6.2, adoption of corrective action plan. Resolved that the Board of Education approves the corrective action plan for the 2021-2022 external audit. May I have a motion? Second?
Josh.
Josh? Any questions in regards to the corrective action plan? So this is for the external audit from last year.
Correct. The audit that was presented to the board in October of 2022.
And we're just getting to a corrective action plan now.
So there was a what I consider to be a minor comment in the audit report that I didn't feel required a corrective action. And so I don't know if you read the cover memo, but it was the finding related to carrying excess fund balance. And so just at your last board meeting, you folks had adopted the propositions to be put forth on the May 16th ballot. One of those propositions was addressing the finding, which was to shift money from undesignated fund balance to our capital reserve. So the timing aligns with our action, but I would say that we could have put forth a corrective action plan sooner. I didn't anticipate the moment as needed. It was submitted to.
So the
SED.
audit didn't explicitly say a corrective action plan is necessary.
Well, it's actually within the audit report, the corrective action. However, so in submitting to the state comptroller's office 3 months ago, we just recently got a response back from them that we need your corrective action. So hence the timing of this.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item 6.3, authorization to execute easement. Resolved that the Board of Education authorizes the superintendent to execute an easement for New York State Electric and Gas Corporation for the purpose of installing a replacement gas main at the senior high school. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Kelly? Second?
Second, Sean.
Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Item 7, personnel. Resolved that the following personnel items be approved. Items 7.1 through 7.6. May I have a motion? Erica. Second? Any questions? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Items carried. Item 8, consent agenda. I resolve that the consent agenda consisting of the following items be approved. Items 8.1 through 8.7. May I have a motion?
Motion.
I heard Sean and Kelly got the second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Item is carried. Item 9, information items. Superintendent search update. So just to update the community in regards to the superintendent search. Dr. Matt Cook, the BOCES superintendent who is facilitating the search, has met with various stakeholder groups over the past 2 weeks and compiled some notes that he has shared with the Board of Education with regards to those discussions. The board will be reviewing candidate credentials with Dr. Cook on Wednesday, March 29th, two days from today. And we'll be selecting candidates to interview. The good news is, well, it's all good news, but that there are 20 viable candidates that Dr. Cook has for the board to look at on Wednesday. So in speaking with Dr. Cook, he really believes that one of the reasons for the large number of candidates is because of the board's decision to go with a confidential search. That he feels that was inherent in our receiving what he felt was a very healthy number of candidates. So we'll continue to update the both the community and the district with regards to this process as we move forward. Item 10, resident comments. Any resident comments at this time? Electronically, nothing. Item 11, executive session. There is no executive session scheduled for this evening. Item 12, adjournment. Resolved that the Board of Education meeting be adjourned. May I have a motion? Josh? Second? Erica? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Item is carried. Time is 7:20.